The semis, while Italy will play Russia.
It's going to be tough against the Czech Republic. Two lefties, Safarova, Kvitova, who played, and girls who have a lot of experience, who've beaten a lot of top players already. So it'll be a tough one. But first, we're going to enjoy this victory, and then we have a few more. We have a few more individual events, and then we'll focus on Fed Cup again when we all get together.
That's all your sport from me. I'll hand you back to
Sana,
Shirley.
thanks very much indeed for that. We're going to take a quick break, but I will be back at the top of the hour. We'll be live in Cairo as protesters in Liberation Square mourn a journalist who was killed in the unrest. Ahmed Mohamed Mahmoud was shot by a sniper on January the 28th.
As China undergoes profound changes, competition for jobs becomes a struggle to survive. Two graduates fresh out of college seek employment in a city of 8 million people. Now entering the real world, the graduates become increasingly desperate and begin to question their college-trained talents. It's a time of hope and frustration for the workforce of the future. Faces of China at this time on Al Jazeera.
Personal blogs by professional journalists. blogs.aljazeera.net.
Hello there, welcome back. I'm Shiri Ghosh. The top story here on Al Jazeera. Crowds have gathered in Cairo's Liberation Square once again. This is the 14th day of anti-government protests. And as before, they're continuing to call for the end of President Mubarak's 30-year rule. Well, a sense of normality is returning to most parts of the Egyptian capital as banks and offices open for a second day. But the Egyptian pound has fallen to its lowest level against the US dollar in 6 years. And the banned opposition Muslim Brotherhood group has told Al Jazeera it's reviewing its decision to take part in talks with the government. Let's have all the latest details now with Alan Fisher.
There's a sense of normality returning to Cairo. Shops are opening. Banks are functioning. Traffic is moving.
The past 7-8 days affected the entire country. The banks were closed, the post offices were not open either. When they reopened yesterday, everything was back to normal, but there are still some queues.
The protest in Liberation Square is now moving into its third week. The people here are getting more organised. The numbers stay the same. The space they're allowed to occupy is getting smaller. Slowly, the army is squeezing the area around the square. Protesters say they'll block any attempt to kick them out.
They slept underneath the tank to force the soldiers not to move.
Those who are thinking that we will get tired of sitting in Tahrir Square, we tell them that we are not leaving. Mubarak should leave Cairo.
US President Barack Obama has told one US TV channel change is coming to Egypt, but how far and how fast is in the hands of the people.
Egypt is not going to go back to what it was. The Egyptian people want freedom, they want free and fair elections, they want a representative government, they want a responsive government. And so what we've said is, you have to start a transition now. Mubarak's already decided he's not running for re-election again. His term is up this year. And what we've said is, let's make sure that you get all the groups together in Egypt, let the Egyptian people make a determination. What's the process for an orderly transition, but one that is a meaningful transition?
For the anti-government camp, the worry is the air is being sucked out of these protests, momentum is being lost. The tanks and soldiers are a reminder of what has gone on over the past days and weeks, and a reminder that this crisis is also far from over. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera.
Well, Al Jazeera's Hoda Hamid joins me now from Cairo. Hoda, I know that you've got a good view of the square. Tell us what's going on, and particularly about the symbolic funeral prayers that are being said for the journalist who died a few days ago in the protests.
Well, by the looks of it, it seems that it's going to be another packed day here on Liberation Square. It's really become a sort of place where any disenfranchised Egyptian with any sort of grievance is coming here to voice it. And obviously, all blaming the same thing, President Mubarak and the system he has put in place that for 3 decades has really kept a tight control on the people. So it's really turning into maybe a speaker's corner, if you may. You find all sorts of groups of people, all with different demands, all with different kinds of grievances of why they're here, but all united in the one call. Now, as for the funeral, from what we understand, this is a symbolic funeral of a journalist who was killed on the 28th of January while he was taking some pictures from his own balcony. According to his wife, he'd received only 1 bullet, and so she alleges that it was by a sniper. And that funeral is going to, the procession is supposed to start at the Journalist Syndicate, which is about 10 minutes walk away from here, come here into Liberation Square, tour the Liberation Square, and leave from the other side. The journalist himself has been buried, according to Muslim tradition, the next day of his death.
So, Hoda, outside the square, I'm told that businesses are reopening and banks are reopening. Do you get the feeling that the people who are people in the square, are they coming and going? Are they coming for a while to protest and then going back to normal lives? I mean, how is life continuing in the square?
Well, I think you have 3 kinds of people in the square. You have those who kickstart all this wave of protests, who are here, who have settled in the square, who have really organized life in the square with their security committees, with people being responsible of bringing in food and water, with people bringing in blankets. Those are the hardcore. Then you have other people who joined in, and the amount of tents that are on the square now has actually tripled since yesterday. And then you have people who come in and out. Those are either people who fully support the pro-democracy youth, or people who are coming to check what's going on, trying to understand, because so far they have been receiving mixed messages. The message that they receive from, let's say, the government media, the government television, and the message they have seen on other televisions. So they're coming for themselves to make their own opinion. And I've spoken to several over the past few days, and many said they were coming with a bit of suspicion, believing the government propaganda that these pro-democracy protesters were paid by foreign countries, that were supported from the outside. And then some of them, when they came in and saw the reality of it, decided to actually join the same call for President Mubarak to step down.
And what about the military, Hoda? Because they've kept well back till now, but analysts are saying, you know, they can't take this neutral line forever. Are there any signs about what the military may do if these protests carry on?
There is no sign about what the military is going to do. The military so far has had a good relationship on the street with the protesters. The military has also been able to quell some of the violence that happened around the city, but the military has not issued one statement indicating which position it will take. And everybody here in Egypt knows that the military is going to be the final, its word is going to be the final word as to when President Mubarak actually leaves his presidency. So all eyes on the military, even though no indications whatsoever so far that it will speak anytime soon, as there is no indication as to when President Mubarak will actually step down. He did say that he would at the end of his term, and that's 7 months away from here, but he hasn't taken any concrete step that will give an indication to the people here on Liberation Square that he's actually serious about that.
Okay, Hoda, for the moment, thanks very much indeed for that. Hoda Hamid updating us live from Cairo there. Now, a hearing into the killing of former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik al-Hariri is underway in the Netherlands. Highly sensitive charges to be brought by the prosecutor are expected to be revealed. They're thought to include terrorism and conspiracy charges. Al Jazeera's Barnaby Phillips is in Leidschendam near The Hague. Barnaby, first of all, I mean, tell us, why is today so important?
Well, it's the beginning, finally, Shuli, of some sort of judicial process. Up until now, it's merely been an investigation. It doesn't mean, unfortunately, if you're hoping that a trial is imminent, it's probably not. It's many months away. But at least what we've been hearing in the courtroom today gives us an indication of what may be contained in an indictment. As you were mentioning, discussions over the definitions of terrorism, conspiracy, premeditated murder, all clues as to what is in the indictment, although I hasten to add not who is indicted, which of course is such a sensitive issue.